Retro consoles. We all love them, but sometimes they're not kept as neat and tidy and are productive as they should be. And that means restoration, repairs and fixes, and the very PC Engine you see running now never came to me in such good condition. And I've already covered the PC Engine, its history, the makeup, the machine in more detail in my full retrospective, and another part 2 coming soon which covers the games and just how well it runs against other consoles. But here I'm trying something slightly different. I do restore, repair and have done this for years for hardware, TVs, consoles, everything from PS3, Xbox 360, way back to things like the Atari, Commodore Amigas, Commodore 64s. I've pretty much fixed everything at some point in some way, shape, form. So here I've decided to just use some video that I used at the time when I fixed this PC Engine back in March of 2019, depending on when you're watching this. And therefore I'll go through the standard fault finding process, finding the issues, the common hurdles and things you'll try to fix when you pull out these old retro consoles, and the obvious hiccups and things you'll need in your repertoire. And maybe it'll help you out if you've got one on eBay or somewhere that you've seen that maybe you could pick up for a cheaper amount of money and just get your soldering iron out, a few capacitors and CD lasers, which can all be picked up cheaply from import places in China and Japan, and fix these yourself and get your machine back to a fully working solution that maybe, just maybe, saves you a few pounds and restores those memories of years gone by. Anyway, that's my introduction. Please leave your thoughts and feedback, whether you like this video, whether you don't, whether you want more in-depth stuff, because I did think that that's halfway through, so I hadn't videoed a lot of the stuff that I did on the repairs, but I do talk about it. Please let me know. We can do something more in-depth if you want it. But anyway, on with the show. Hope you enjoyed this, and if not, check out my other video if you love a little bit of PC Engine action. I'll see you very soon. Maybe slightly sooner than I thought, because some of the sound didn't come out on these. So here I'm taking the console apart using the standard socket sets, and you'll get many of these little socket sizes that, you know, things like Nintendo and Sega use. They didn't use standard Phillips or flathead screwdrivers. You had these specific size sockets that fit in, and then they're kind of Allen key locks that just make it a little bit more difficult for people to take consoles apart. Once you've done that, you can then slide the back off and you get fully exposed to the console inside. The most important thing here is make sure you don't stick your hands over it and touch things, but really you're very unlucky to cause static impact to these machines taking them apart. But just make sure your bench is earthed or you're earthed on the floor, and you're not randomly touching everything all the time and rubbing your feet on the carpet. Just a basic functionality you need to keep in mind, because you are dealing with, you know, exposed ICs, so you can blow things from static electricity, but it's really overblown, the irony in there, as an issue. So what we've got is a poor mod that doesn't work. So the basic thing is to work out whether the problem is from the power or from the mod. Pretty sure it's the mod, because it just hasn't been that well put together. But the quickest way to do that is to do a continuity test. So set your multimeter to continuity, and then literally test, which is nothing more than listening for the beep. So let's test that we're getting power in from the board, which we are. So from the board we're getting power. So it stops there because the circuit's closed. So let's check the RGB mod. We're getting red. We're getting green. We're getting blue. We're not getting anything from there. So from the power, so we're sucking power through, so the feed's okay. So if we power the whole thing on, power on, we move to 20 volt because that's the voltage that we're going to hit. It's a 10 volt machine. And again, we test what we're getting in. So we're pulling in 9 volt, which is about right. We're getting
9 volt to the power, 9 volt through to the fuse. It's dropping to 8.5 there. We're getting 5 volt. Five volt there. So I'm going to say that this mod is the problem. So let's take our iron, and we're just gonna, can you see me okay? We're just gonna remove, always unplug before you do this, we're just gonna remove the solder. There we go. It might not be this, but it's the safest bet is to just take it out of the equation, which we've done nicely there. Okay, so just going to put my iron back, and then let's test it one more time and see if we now get a display. He says not turning the TV on. So it's not the mod, or at least it's not the additional chip that's been put in the middle. You can see it's definitely a power issue somewhere on the board, so that's good. That means we've isolated that it's not this that's the problem, which was a quick win. Somebody's traced out the route there. I don't know why they've done that, but hey ho. Some crappy hot glue there. So yeah, this is going to take some.
So sadly another one with a little lost sound, but here I'm essentially talking about the fact that you need to go across the board and use your multimeter and then trace whether or not you've got any drops across the connections on the board. So such as I'm pointing out here, you've got your live and your earth, so you just need your positive and your negative, and then you need to trace whether or not you get any drops. So really you're going to be looking for 9 volt, 5 volt, 3.3 volt. That's pretty much what you're going to see across the board. And then any points where you see obvious signs of solder, contact problems or anything like that, where it doesn't look quite right, there's air gaps, it doesn't connect to the board, it doesn't look clean, then really, for the sake of a little bit of solder in 2 seconds, it's worth just resoldering those with some fresh flux, some fresh solder, and then connecting those back up. And that should, maybe, hopefully, fix some of the issues that you see. It's not going to, but it's always worth it if you can't isolate the problem quickly.
It didn't fix it! So looking at the back of the board, he's soldered the C-Sync and then he's bridged the RGB, and I don't know why, so I'm going to remove it. So as a quick test, I've just taken a USB cable, I've trimmed down the 2 ends of the wire, and then I'm going to use it to carry the sync from the VDP chip, or the graphics chip, over to the input, the RGB feed, and we should get picture and sound. We shall see. So, as expected, after a bit of soldering, rejoin some of the joints here, some of the joints on the CD-ROM, some of the connections off the board, and certainly the back with the prong that I showed you, which would joined up the sync and the RGB, or the red. I don't know why that was there, but we took all that off. I resoldered some of the points around the board, and now PC Engine that plays games. That is the rumour. It came with a few backups, and we're testing those. The CD-ROM appears to be shite, so possibly it's knackered. But I predicted that because that's common, and I've already ordered a new laser, which is here, and we'll swap that in a moment. See the little light flickering away, attempting to read. So essentially, yeah, there's some bad mods, bad soldering, which I have quickly bodged together to fix. Yes, that is a Sony chip. And it finally loads Super Raiden. But yeah, clearly not the best CD-ROM. So it's not working. We're going to change the laser. So let's unplug everything to make sure we don't break anything. And then we're simply going to take this off, which is very easy. We just disconnect by lifting out, because it's only pins that are holding it in. And then very carefully we disconnect the cables. Try not to pull on the cables, because you can pull them out very easily, and then you're buggered because you've disconnected it from the board. So always try and grab the little clip itself and wiggle it a little bit. There you go, and you get that connection off. Now what we want off is this carry board, so be very careful on these things because you can easily break them. So once you've disconnected it from the board and lifted it up, we need to take the laser off the arms, and you can see the arms are fitted in here and here, and at the bottom there'll be a little screw. So we need to just get these off, these arms off, and we can slide the caddy out of the way, and we'll have the opportunity to put our new laser in, which is here, and hopefully it's not a dud, which sometimes happens, but you never know. So the way you disconnect this is these two little prongs here, they just simply turn. Just get a little flattened screwdriver, turn them out of the way like that. Like that, and like that, and then the arms lift up, and you just slide the motor off like so, and as you can see, that's the whole thing out of place. And we can only hope that it is the laser and it isn't something worse. Then we just slide the new one in, which again, I'll just place this down because we need to have two hands, because even I'm not that flexible. Just lift it up and slide it in, she said with a glee. Oh bugger. I probably realised I didn't explain this well enough. So this is the old laser that came out, and this is the new laser. Now, one of the things you need to make sure is the lens is clean. There's no fingerprints, because that can affect the lineup, and also the layers on the arms are clean as well. The other thing to remember is there's a potentiometer here, potentiometer for the strength of the laser. Now, you will likely not need to touch this if it's brand new, but if it's an old one, you can play around with this and adjust the speed or the pickup, the quality of the laser, the strength and the focus, and that can actually improve the laser. And sometimes you can do that to prolong the life of a laser that's on its way out. You can play around with the strength and actually increase the laser. Obviously, it will shorten the lifespan of the laser, but if you're desperate to keep it going for a couple of weeks or months more, then that's a good sign to try and keep the life going. But you can sometimes get away with just tweaking this as well to make sure it works best once you've fitted it inside your console.
And that's really it. Once all those things were put together, you have a fully working console, which reads CDs, reads Hue cards, plugs in correctly, works brilliantly. There are a few noise issues on the board itself. I still feel there's some voltage issues there, which is causing some interference on the image, and I'll play with that at a later point. Probably, maybe. I know what I'm like, but yeah, I might do. Something else might take my attention as well, but fundamentally it works. It's not ultra clean, but it's much better than a standard PC Engine, and it's much better than when I picked it up and bought it, because it didn't even turn on to start off with. So unfortunately, like I said, I didn't film all of this because I kind of half-heartedly did it, and then when I went back and did some other bits. So if you enjoyed this kind of video, if you want more of these kind of repairs, and there's quite a few bits that I've got kicking around to do, then I'm more than happy to start putting these kind of videos up as an additional part. Maybe it helps you out, maybe it doesn't, I don't know, but again, I like your feedback, your thoughts. This is something that I do as a side hobby. I've grown up with electronics, it's what I do for a living as well. You know, fundamentally I've gone through that progression, so I don't do this for a living. I don't claim to be the most proficient at it, but I'm certainly capable, and hopefully it was beneficial to you or not. Let me know either way, and obviously check out the full detailed PC Engine video that I've put up, which hopefully gives you more insights into just what this machine can do once it's fully working.